In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace be upon you, Allah's blessings and His mercy. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear guests, a very good evening to you. Peace be upon you all. Before I deliver my speech, I would like to thank Rawa for her introduction, because she alluded to a very important point, and I, in my turn, will be touching upon it. Thank you, Rawa. The second point is as follows. I have actually written this speech before the start of this conference, and obviously there were some issues that were raised during the 2 days. I might also touch upon them if the time allows. This speech is artificial intelligence. It is an old kind of speech before the conference cracked on. Indeed, this summit has been a great place for the main actors and influencers in the media and technology fields. I would like to welcome all the leaders. I would like to allude to the fact that this dialogue platform is very important. It combines those who work in the technology side and the journalist-related side. These innovators do, through their insights, projects, innovations, and the gist of their professional experiences, add a pioneering dimension to this conference that aims at strengthening the relationship between the two partners of the media process, i.e. the content creators on one side and the manufacturers of tools and platforms on the other, including obviously the cloud, as well as other innovations relevant to the media production cycle, delivery systems and engagement with audiences, and so on and so forth, things that we've talked about yesterday and today. And it provides to us good tools to propagate the content, to access content, as well as engage with the audience. And engagement with the audience is extremely important at this stage. I think the tools that we used to use decades ago didn't take into consideration the engagement with audiences. So the ultimate goal of this summit, as I see it, is to try through getting to know one another better and through dialogue to highlight the main challenges that face the media in our time. Challenges that arise with every new innovation, but with our joint efforts, so we could certainly create the appropriate solutions for them. Professional media stands firm on solid principles, including honesty, integrity, accuracy, objectivity, striking a balance, and the preservation of people's rights and privacy, amongst others. However, these standards have become threatened in unprecedented fashion as a result of the avalanche of the fast-paced news, as well as the plethora of sources and the delivery methods. In this complex situation, how can platform creators find suitable solutions for such challenges? How could such solutions be sustainable? How can the journalist and the technologist work together to prescribe the problem and come up with solutions? We are in dire need for more of such types of get-together, which should be expanded to include all the players impacting media and technology at all levels. so that we can try and figure out innovative solutions to new challenges. We have talked about such innovative solutions here, and we hopefully will expand on them in the future summits. Due to the importance of this summit as a platform for leaders, innovators, and experts in the media and technology field on one hand, and the importance of the huge technological developments on the other, our responsibility increases in the media production cycle, with all its facets and complexities and platforms. This responsibility poses more complex and prickly questions that entail moral and existential dimensions, as Rawa has alluded to just minutes ago, in the digital environment as well. We should indeed be wondering about constant disruption and humanity's ability to adapt, especially in the face of the apparent collapse of the traditional structure of knowledge building. Social networks, digital platforms, and the prevalence of engagement and interaction have created new producers of information that was indeed in the hands of the elite in the past. Knowledge has always been the domain of the elite and the opinion shapers and the traditional media outlets. Therefore, most people have become partners in producing content, whether in text or images, videos, or even symbols with various degrees and different levels of professionality, obviously. Despite our joy at the unprecedented amount and speed of technological development and our investment in it and the usage thereby, there are indeed certain worries and concerns. And these kind of concerns are sometimes justifiable. These great innovations are not merely communication or content delivery tools, but rather they have become the way that we find out about the changes in our world. They are not mere tools. They do shape our views concerning events locally and globally. And these products are based on certain values and world-wide views, some of which we agree with, and others that we disagree with. These frameworks might be contentious when it comes to assessing them, but we acknowledge the fact that they are there. And as a matter of fact, here we can pose a question to what extent such innovations and such updates, to what extent they can be neutral and even the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the neutrality thereby. Neutrality ought to be floated very seriously because the AI is not necessarily neutral. From this perspective, we can say that such technologies have ideologies. And I'm not here talking about the political sense of the term, however, the knowledge-based sense or the cognitive sense, because they actually create a technological, ideological environment that leads us to think into predefined kind of frameworks, stereotype kind of frameworks. They also influence us to behave in a preset and controlled ways in a classic case of social engineering. There are different settings, indeed. This may deprive us from the blessings of free and out-of-the-box thinking. Platforms have settings and specifications. You can use, for example, certain words or certain videos or certain size of certain videos, and sometimes content is filtered and terminology is filtered. With each platform according to its standards. For the user, these kind of conditions actually demarcate the political, social, and cultural parameters that enable them to interact with others on this platform or that. This eventually affects the content of the message and the kind of discourse that users engage in, and thereby the awareness of the world around them, the existence itself, we as humans. This actually, the aforesaid might explain the superficiality with which serious issues are dealt with on these platforms, with a lack of real knowledge and a lack of journalistic rigor. Here, we face a bigger challenge in our work in the media on a daily basis. So, how can we produce a data based and factual content while using these technological products that fill the media and communication landscape? How could we depend on such splendid technologies and at the same time we want to depend on a factual content and to crystallize a crystal clear message? I think that we need to ponder over this dichotomy or this dilemma. We need to have perhaps experts, perhaps philosophers, perhaps moralists and sociologists. And I do know that the debate is afoot when it comes to this very issue. But perhaps in the future we can attract some of the philosophers and the experts in order to have their input here. Obviously, I'm not calling for using any product for something that it was not created for. However, our journalistic responsibilities, the moral and the professional one, oblige us to respect the needs of the audience for knowledge that will enlighten them. So, whenever we consider creating content on any new technology or platform, we make sure that the formats allow us to maintain the principles, at least the accuracy, the opinion and the other's opinion, the context and the depth. And these are standards that we all know. However, they need to be deeply entrenched in our philosophy, in our policy. Using such innovative technologies cannot deprive us from the principles of journalism in order to help our brethren rather than dehumanize them. Indeed, this is exactly what we at Al Jazeera Media Network are keen to do across all of our products, whether they are broadcast news, bulletins, and programs, or any form of digital content. But perhaps we must admit that we often get caught up in the buzz of technological innovations and behaviors and accept the limitations imposed by certain platforms. But of course, we recognize that innovative platforms play an essential role, a pioneering role in delivering the content produced by our various broadcast and digital teams. We have always been pioneers in this area and we work hard to stay pioneers long into the future, hand in hand with our partners. More than any time in the past, we need tools for the media that meet the standards of knowledge for an educational and enlightenment point of view. Tools that can help us help others achieve knowledge instead of the superficial and entertainment based commodification of information. We are not against entertainment. Entertainment is attractive, however, it is not the central plank or the cornerstone of our profession. Technology in general, as I said before, embodies a specific way of being in the world and imposes a specific way for humans to interact with each other. And it also imposes its ways on us. So we say, if you take all the technological developments of our time, you will find a full framework to indeed have a look at the world through such prism. You can see the other, and the other can see you. And thus, we need to be vigilant. We need to be on our guards. Uh, I have avoided speaking about the technical and media issues, which were the subject of our discussions over the past 2 days, including the artificial intelligence, the cloud, the cyber security, especially at the times of hacking, fake news, and piracy. Also, the future of the newsrooms, sharing and engagement workflow from sender to receiver, data storage, and other topics. I avoided talking about such topics. You have dealt with these issues, and you are the experts. However, I'm confident that these topics have been discussed, and I do prefer to give voice to some other concerns. I hope that you won't consider my interjection today as philosophical meddling into the debate on the neutrality of technology and science in general, which so many thinkers have brought up. Some consider these new products are at the service of humanity, and they do reinforce the laws of nature. However, others see that the technology come with their own value systems that shape lifestyles and thought processes. You can't indeed, in this case, separate between the means and the end. And I do call upon you to ponder over this dilemma as we think and plan and create the tools and the means that could help us to produce knowledge that is enlightening. Before concluding, I would like to allude to three very quick points. First, to a certain extent, I was taken aback to witness the lack of ethics in our discussions. Nobody has alluded to ethics. Some has alluded to very lightheartedly. However, ethics is at the essence of everything we do. For example, when we tackle the issue of fake news, piracy, and manipulations, and so on and so forth, and we looked at our colleagues at the technology related companies, we wanted for them to do something to salvage us from such problems. I think we looked in the wrong place. Indeed, this is this emphasizes the relation between the sender and the receiver. Lying is a fact. Fake news are facts as well, and this is primordial. The equation between evil and good is part and parcel of the dialectic of life. So we need to have a media production, a media producer, or a media message that entails nurturing integrity, in nurturing ethical values that are of essence. And then the technological firms can come along and help us to emphasize such ethical dimensions. They can provide us with solutions to stave off piracy, for example, and so on and so forth. This is the first point. The second point relates to the AI. I've spoken to some outside this hall, and people are scared of robotics and artificial intelligence. Indeed, the machines as well. They are afraid of the machine encroachment of the rights of humans. There are certain questions. How could or to what extent the artificial intelligence can accommodate the capacities of humans? And we have watched certain graphics whereby the brain has been displayed on the screen, and it was compared with artificial intelligence, so on and so forth. But are you Trekkies? Those who followed Star Trek, are you Trekkies? Those who followed Star Trek in the famous serial, I think in the third episode or the second episode, there is an alien that's called Pip, and this alien has the knowledge that exceeds hundreds and thousands of those who are on Star Trek, on the ship itself. And this alien has in his brain all the information on Earth, but the intractable solutions that are not technological are provided with solutions through humans, because humans follow their instinct, they follow their emotional intelligence. I cannot imagine that a machine can have an emotional intelligence or the predisposition, what we call saliqa in Arabic, the predisposition or the innate nature. So having algorithm is fine. You can get to very accurate results, more accurate than our human endeavor. However, it doesn't provide the other side, the emotional side that comes from intuition. I do not think that machines will have intuition as we know it, which stores billions and billions and billions of information in one part of our bodies that we do not know, because we as humans, as you know, we use only 2% of the capacity of our brains. In conclusion, as we wrap up this conference, I would like to thank you for your presence and your distinguished insights inside this hall and outside. This conference with your projects represents an innovative hope of development that doesn't stop at developing the technological tools, however, takes into consideration the knowledge-based needs of the receiver and the sender, as well as the service of the humanity. This is what drives us at Al Jazeera Media Network, the commitment to carry an enlightened media message to all people, wherever they may be. I would like to thank all the sponsors. I would like to thank all the participants. I would like to thank those who provided us with inputs, with statements, with interventions, and also I would like to thank greatly the technical team at the Al Jazeera Media Network and those anonymous soldiers who worked from behind the shadows. I would like to thank all the colleagues, and I cannot go through their names, and even Al Jazeera Mubashir, our brothers, our cameramen, those who played a major role in transmitting this conference. I would like to thank also the officials who participated in the success of this conference. Lastly, I would like to call upon those who were in charge of this conference and the partners thereby to think of expanding this conference, the scope of this conference, quantity-wise and quality-wise, because there are major issues that we need to tackle, perhaps not in the panel discussions, perhaps in the parallel sessions. And I do think that attracting artists, philosophers, thinkers, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, I'm a man of letter. This was my career, and those who studied humanities do not perhaps stop at using certain technological tool, and you might already know that during the Industrial Revolution, Thoreau, the romantic poet, left the city to the jungle, and he wanted to live a romantic life as he saw it. Escapism, romantic escapism, and he was in his hut and he listened to the steam engine, and he wrote a poem describing the movement of this train, The Machine in the Garden. Yes, The Machine in the Garden, that was the title of this poem. And he dealt with the issue of the industrial world as if raping our nature. So those who have different ideas ought to be here amongst us so that we can listen to them and perhaps derive benefit from them. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to extend my gratitude for being patient for this long speech. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.